Welcome to the SharpRank Pro interview series. Each week we will highlight a Sharp listed on our site and cover topics at the intersection of sports and gambling.
This week we have Bill Enright from Sports Illustrated and Bull Market Fantasy. Let's do this.
All right, we are live, joined by Bill Enright of Sports Illustrated and Bull Market Fantasy. I'm Chris, your host. Bill, thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, Chris, thanks for having me, man. It's we're winding down for the NFL season, but we still have a big game ahead of us with the Super Bowls, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have a familiar face and somebody who had a very good AFC and NFC championship weekend, if you follow that sort of stuff. So let's kind of get into real quick. Let's get into your background. We kind of talk about describe it as sort of a very tall building elevator pitch of how you got to where you are. So
that goes back a long time. I stopped playing football in high school, and I took over as a sports director for my high school television station, which I loved doing more than I loved playing. So that took me to Syracuse University, where I got a degree in broadcast journalism. Out of college, I worked for an action sports website, traveled all around the world. It was a blast. You had to be single for that job, though, because you're partying with all these European and South American and Australian and Asian and American, and they're all these young professional athletes, and they're having a good time, and you're in all these foreign countries, and the partying just caught up to me a little bit, and I think I racked up like 150,000 miles in the air, airline miles in like 12 or 13 months. It was really taking its toll. So I wanted to get back to football somehow, and I found this job working as the general manager for a fantasy football website. I spent 10 years there, and then about 2 years ago, I switched. I moved on from there, and then I took the job with Jim Cramer and Sports Illustrated.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
my gambling history goes way back, even farther than that. But you just asked how I got here from where I am now.
Professionally, we'll get into the gambling piece. Everybody has their story about where that started.
Yeah.
Syracuse, is that where? Who are your teams then? Where are you from? Who do you root for?
I'm from North Jersey. I really only follow football. I can't get into the NBA. It's just not the same from when I grew up watching it in the 90s. I was a huge NBA fan. Yeah. But it's just not the same game anymore, and I don't enjoy it. I like college basketball a lot, and I'll follow the NFL. I'll follow college basketball. My home team is the Giants, third-generation Giants season ticket holder, and I root for Syracuse, obviously. But outside of that, I don't follow hockey. I can't stand baseball, and the NBA just doesn't do it for me anymore.
Are you a Dino Babers fan?
Yeah, Dino's done a great job with that program.
Yeah.
You look at some of the recruits that he's had, some of the past success. They had a little bit of a down year, but he's doing a really good job with that program.
I agree. I think he was one of the first college coaches, not one of the first, but he really embraced the fact that we're not going to out recruit people. So our scheme needs to be different. And he's done a really good job. I think of Dungy as the main attraction for him. And he's done a really good job getting players that are very specific to what he needs them to do. So I'm a big believer in him and what he's doing up there. Yeah. All right. So you're pretty active on social media with Bull Market Fantasy and stuff like that. What's something people might not know about you for just by following you on social media?
Something that people don't know. It's funny. I try to keep my social media to just professional stuff. And it's really just sports. I don't really dabble in anything else, politics or anything like that. I try to do some stock stuff just because of my relationship with Jim. Something that people don't know about me. I do a lot of action sports. I'm a big skier. I'm a big surfer.
Oh, cool.
And I do a lot of Muay Thai. Muay Thai is my favorite, I guess, non-traditional sport going.
That's really cool. Any big ski trips? You've been around the world. Were you skiing then, or is that a new thing?
No, I started skiing when I was 3. So
Oh,
the
great.
job for the action sports company was amazing because
Yeah.
I was skiing in Switzerland and Japan and going to Colorado 5 times a year and going out to Tahoe, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I've done I've skied in Australia. People don't know that there's snow in Australia. I've skied
Yeah.
there. I've done some really, really cool ski and surf trips in my life. I'm very, very blessed in that regard.
Oh, that's really cool. Skiing's fun. Australia, you could double up surf and ski trip there, couldn't you?
Yeah, so we were on a really tight schedule, and when we flew into Sydney, the time difference is so crazy. Like, you think it's morning, but it's night. It's crazy. But we were on such a tight time schedule, and plus when we went there, so they're opposite, right? So we went, I think, in July or August. So that's their winter. So like, it
Okay.
wasn't like beach. Like I couldn't go to the beach in Bondi Beach or whatever is outside of Sydney there. And we were on such a tight schedule. We just hit the road and went out to the mountain.
That's cool. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about the time zones when you were traveling like that. That's like that's crazy, the amount of travel you're doing and like staying on schedule. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, it was really tough. Probably it was probably altitude poisoning or altitude sickness. I don't know if you call it poisoning. But when I went to Switzerland, I stayed on top of the mountain. There was Lac Switzerland. There's it's not like a hostel. It's kind of like a hostel, but not exactly a hotel either. It's kind of in the mix. I stayed in one on top of the mountain. So like you take the gondola up and you don't go back down. And I was so sick for like 3 days while I was there.
Oh,
And I just didn't get to enjoy it as much as I wanted. And then once the second I took that gondola down the mountain, I instantly started to feel better. So I probably should have kept a little bit, some more time below the tree line.
awesome. Cool. All right, let's get into the main event here. Let's get into some gambling. Both of our fortes here. So you are a big prop bet daily fantasy guy. What are you looking for? Because we talk about value all the time, and
Right.
when we're doing that, and part of what I really like about what you guys do is, and you do specifically, is you take a very disciplined approach to it, and there is a reason behind why you're picking certain things. So what are you looking for in those types of bets?
Yeah, so we're not action junkies, right? We're very strategic in all of the moves that we make because it's not only our money, but it's also our followers' money that we feel responsible for, and we like to see them win as much as possible. We don't like to see them lose. So part of that is not just chasing or just getting in on a bet just for the heck of it. When we find a market that we like, not only do we do our due diligence, but we try to exploit it as much as possible. So you brought up the NFC and AFC championship game. I really loved the Chiefs in that game. I just thought that they were the far superior team. The Buffalo Bills were getting a lot of hype, rightfully so. They've looked incredible. I think they were on a 8 or 9 game winning streak. But to me, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce are not only 3 of the best players in that game, they're probably 3 of the best players in the NFL. So once we found, not necessarily, I'm using this as an example. It was only one of 2 games, so it's not like we found the matchup. But once we find players against inferior teams with inferior defenses, or just when you're talking about the Chiefs, such a superior team compared to everyone else, we try to exploit that as much as possible. So for that AFC Championship game, we went all in on Travis Kelce, on Tyreek Hill, took the over on everything, and we hit everything.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun to watch. For those listening who don't know, Bill and I and Jim had a conversation the week prior. I got to listen to their show, and if you had listened to their show, you would have heard them call out some pretty big prop bets that paid out. What was Kelce, like plus 350 or 400 or something like that?
Yeah, plus 350 to hit 2 touchdowns. So we took him on the 1 touchdown at minus 125, and then we double dipped on the 2 touchdowns. And we call those lottos. So what we try to tell people is, listen, if you do want to, if your bankroll allows it, and if you're taking our best bet and you're putting, let's use just regular numbers, $100 on our best bet, then for our lotto plays, we don't say put $100 on it. Don't use your normal amount. put 10 or $5 on it, or $25, whatever. Everyone's in a unique situation, but those are lotto plays. We don't expect to win them. When we do win them, we love it. And we treat them as something that can really almost pay for the weekend, right? So Travis Kelce hits on a $25 plus 350. You're pretty much covering all your bets for the rest of the weekend without, factoring any of the other bets that you might win.
Yeah, absolutely. And and to translate that a little bit further, like one derivative out, something that we see a lot of and a lot of our users really get into are the futures bets, which is a very similar bet to a prop bet. Take, for example, you see Oklahoma State football at plus 8,000 before the year starts to win the national championship. And just taking a flyer on that because like Oklahoma's down, some of the other Big 12 teams are down, and taking a couple flyers and spreading out your risk on these lotto bets, as you call them. And it's a fun way to do it because you have a strategy in place, right? And then in the meantime, you can hit some of those lottery bets, which are, like you say, they pay for the weekend. So they're a lot of fun. So the methodology, as I'm kind of understanding it, is you're looking for a matchup to exploit. And then once you figure out the matchup to exploit, you look for the key players and the value in those key players' props.
Yeah, so we tend to do really well with the prop bets, and I think that has a lot to do with my background as running a fantasy football site for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has a lot to do with I don't want to say my let's just say my proclivity of following prop bets. For games and over-unders, I have a great network of people that work with me at Sports Illustrated. I rely on them a lot. If there's something that they don't like and I'm kind of on the opposite way, I tend to stay away because there's no reason. Like I said, I'm not just an action junkie. But when there's something that they like and I really like too, then we try to we try to go all in a little bit there as well. We push those chips to the middle. But for the prop bets, what's great is because we have a relationship with DraftKings, we can look at the DraftKings prop bets and then follow how they move throughout the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to that AFC Championship game. Tyreek Hill, when it opened, he had an over-under reception prop at 5.5 at minus 134. By the time it closed, it was minus 163. So, we follow a lot of where the movement is as well. And we try to exploit the sports book a little bit by getting in on the action early instead of waiting till the end of the week. Like when Patrick Mahomes was possibly concussed, the Chiefs opened up as 2.5-point favorites. Yep. I hammered it right away because I knew it would eventually go up a point or maybe 1.5 points, and it ended up finishing at 3.5. So I try to time the market. You can't do this in stocks. Jim says it all the time. But I try to time the market a little bit when it comes to the sports book because Patrick Mahomes is playing in that game, right? Yep. Like there was never a doubt in my mind. Is it a gamble? Yeah, I guess it is. That's the gamble part, right? Well, maybe he doesn't get cleared out of the concussion protocol. I didn't really think that was even a possibility. It's the AFC Championship game. It's the potential to go to the Super Bowl. He is the face of not just the Chiefs, but I think of the NFL now.
Oh yeah,
he's playing in that game. So you want to give me the 2.5 points? I'm taking it, and that's something else that I think. Not enough bettors, the amateur bettors, the retail guys, I don't think they look at the line movement enough. And I think that's really, really important.
I totally agree. It's something that we preach on our site consistently, which is there's a difference between 90% of the tickets and 90% of the money and what that'll do to a line throughout the week. And one of the things we hear consistently on here, which you just reiterated, is look at those lines early. Look at them early and make your decision then. Yeah. Or because as the public starts to mangle it, you're going to get a secondary effect that you don't want. Whether it's juice, that extra 0.5 point hook, whatever the case might be, it's just seeing the line early and seeing the value early is such a, if you just do that, you're so far ahead of the public that it's such an advantage for the general public to use. So you just kind of hit on it too. So you credit that fantasy football experience a little bit for your prop bets. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think just because fantasy is so player focused,
Yep.
and I spent 10 years running a fantasy football website, doing everything from rankings, projections, weekly projections, player news. During football season, it's very consuming, both from professional and personal standpoint. Where it's all I do from mid-July to end of December. So once the player prop market really started to come a little bit more to fruition. Now, DraftKings, they release theirs. If the games are on Sunday, they typically release theirs on either Thursday night or Friday. So it's a lot of homework to do in a very short amount of time. And I always try to look at every possible player and their player props. Now, my fantasy football rankings help me in that I can know that, well, if I have Josh Jacobs ranked 5th this week he's playing against the Chargers, well, maybe I'll take a look at some of his prop bets too. And then if I agree on the number, his yardage total, or whether or not he's going to score a touchdown, then I'll take some action. As opposed to, am I looking at the 3rd wide receiver from the Bengals? Well, I guess that would be AJ Green. Maybe not a good example. 3rd wide receiver for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And seeing what his over/under catch total is. Not normally during the regular season. I try to focus on the players that coincide with my fantasy rankings, because those are the ones that I know have a good matchup. They've been productive. They're in the upper echelon of talent in the league, and I try to take advantage as much as possible.
Yeah. That's so part of what we do here, as you know, is we take a bunch of different attributes but just real quick, I would like to say, you referenced them earlier. You have a great team over at Sports Illustrated, like a really solid team, not just from props, but from bets, from spreads and totals. I've found some really good insight over there. So that's a if you're looking for insight, that's a place to start for sure.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Bull Market Fantasy
we
too.
work hard.
Yeah,
we work hard.
Yeah, it's a good team. But so part of what we do is we take a bunch of different attributes, we put them into an algorithm, it spits out a performance ranking. So what would you say has made you consistently good? Like, if people have watched and paid attention to Bull Market Fantasy over the past year, they would know that following what you guys are doing, they're making money. And the same can't be said for a lot of the sharps out there, or touts out there, you know? So what is it that you guys point to that makes you so successful consistently?
I think it's homework. You just have to
fast homework. Yeah.
It's just the research and staying on top of it.
Yep.
And it starts with watching college, going to following the NFL Combine, going to the NFL Combine, talking to different players, different reporters, following beat reporters, following the NFL draft, what's going on in training camp, what's going on at OTAs, how is this offensive coordinator's hire going to change what this wide receiver does. So it's a lot of homework and data and research and content consuming, and then we have to turn around and spew it out to make it all make sense, right? So we're taking things from, like, NFL Combine last year. I did an interview with Jonathan Taylor, and he just said something like, I wasn't really using the passing game at Wisconsin, but I think it's an area that I could show the NFL, or I could show whatever team drafts me that'll be really good at. Damian Williams, during the last year at the Super Bowl, I interviewed him 3 times during that week leading up to the Super Bowl, every time he mentioned how much he's going to be involved in the passing attack. So what did I do? I took the over on the receptions, the over on him scoring a touchdown. I took the over on his total yards because I figured that, okay, well, he's coming out and telling us that he's going to be involved in the passing attack. So I'm going to take a couple props for Damian Williams in the passing game, and I'm also going to, combine it with his totals. Now, he had that big run at the end of the game, if you remember back to last Super Bowl, that he scored a touchdown. That was his second touchdown. So I had like a 4X or a 5X just on Damian Williams alone, just by talking to him at a press conference.
Yep. I think that's so. There is no insider information, right? And there's no SEC to police that. But there are people like you who have a keen ear to that type of stuff and can hear those buzzwords and think, well, hang on a sec, and look for where that translates to value in prop bets, daily fantasy, things like that. And so if people are paying attention, there are folks out there like Bill who know what to listen for and to know what questions to ask and things of that nature. So that's really exciting. Okay. Give me a fun rule for gambling. In our office, we have a whiteboard with everything they stem from bad beats. Always bet senior day home dogs. Just random funny things that you've come across in your career. What's something fun that you would toss out there?
This one's obvious. In March Madness, I always take a 12 over a 5.
Okay.
I think I do that for all 4 of the sides of the bracket. I don't know if I have any weird idiosyncrasies when it comes to gambling. I never force a bet. I'm trying to think of if I have a weird nuance for gambling. It used to be always take the Patriots after a bye week. That was one of them.
Yeah.
And same thing with Andy Reid. I'll always take Andy Reid's team after a bye week. You land the points.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, fantastic. So what we do now is a very quick, what we call a lightning round. We dumped a ton of money into R&D to come up with the name Lightning Round. It's very original. I think it's proprietary to ourselves. So what we'll do is we'll ask a couple questions in rapid succession. They should be one-word answers or phrase answers, and we'll get some instant reactions here. You ready to roll?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, awesome. Favorite sports movie?
Any Given Sunday.
Awesome choice. Least favorite head coach?
In the NFL?
In the NFL. We had somebody hit Brad Childress pretty hard.
Geez. Ben McAdoo.
That's the second Ben McAdoo we've had.
He was brutal. He was brutal.
Personal best game day experience to date. You've obviously been very well traveled, so this.
I have been. I went to the Giants Super Bowl with my dad in Indianapolis. We sat next to Harry Carson. I don't know how we got these seats. It was incredible. Before he became, Donald Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani was like the king of this area, North Jersey and New York City, because of everything that happened in 9/11. And Mayor Giuliani was in the seat in front of us. Harry Carson was right next to me. And it was incredible. And the Giants pulled off. That was my first Super Bowl that I not only attended, but covered that week as well. I slept in my car all week. My friend had a hotel room, so I showered there, but I slept in my car. My dad flew in later in the week because I was working. He stayed in my coworker's room. And it was just, it was really awesome, really special. And I'm happy that I got to spend that moment with my dad. It was awesome. That's
really cool. My dad and I do an away trip every year. Similar thing, check out a new city. But actually in 2013, somewhat similar story. In 2013, I went to New Orleans for the Ravens 49ers Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Directly in front of me was your co-host.
Oh, Jim, yeah.
Yeah, it was such a weird coincidence. When I got in touch with him, I was like, guess what?
I have pictures of the stadium with the back of your head on it.
Yeah. Okay. Top 3 bucket list stadiums or arenas to visit.
Yeah, so I want to go to Lambeau. I don't care who's playing.
Yep.
And I prefer it to be during a snowstorm. I love snow football. That stadium or whatever they're calling it, or facility, or that in Los Angeles, it looks like a thing of beauty, man. Like it's a piece of artwork.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to go check that out. Next year the Super Bowl's there, so hopefully I'll get a chance to do that.
Yep.
And then I would like to go to. I'm not a big soccer fan, but I would like to go to a soccer stadium in Italy or in England or in Spain, somewhere like that, somewhere in Europe, I guess, and follow like a big time rival, just really see a really great fan experience. Because I think the soccer fans are among the best fans in the world with their passion, and their stadiums just completely rock out. And I like that.
I think that would be fun. That would be a party for sure. One franchise you most want to see win a championship in any sport.
Oh boy, they can't have one before.
No, they could. If it's the Giants, it's fine.
I've seen the Giants win a couple of Super Bowls. I'm happy with that. I'd always like to see them win some more. I would like Syracuse to take down a national champion. I got to Syracuse the year after Carmelo won the championship. So like I'm like, in high school, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to Syracuse. They're going to be awesome. They're the national champs. We got Carmelo. And then he leaves for the NBA draft, and I don't even think they made it past the Sweet 16. I was walking off a plane from spring break. I got off this best trip. I was in Acapulco with all my friends. I get off the plane. Syracuse blows it to Vermont. The guys from Vermont. I'd like to see Syracuse win a national championship, and maybe go to the school while that happens, because something about college and being in that atmosphere as well. I talked about your soccer fans being passionate, college basketball, college football fans, very passionate as well.
Yep. That would be pretty cool.
People just give you random teams that they don't root for? Like, what do they say usually?
Well, we've had a lot of people who are very, we had a Vikings fan who works for Roto World. We had somebody who, at the Boston Globe, who wanted to see her WNBA franchise win one.
Okay.
So, it spans the globe. I'm fortunately or unfortunately a Baltimore Orioles fan. So that would probably it's been a long time since we've been good. So that would probably be mine.
Okay.
All right, favorite meal.
Spinach pockets from Dominic's on Union Boulevard in Toto, New Jersey.
All right, Dominic's, you heard that. You got your man. Loudest stadium.
Syracuse was pretty loud, man.
The Dome.
They call it the Loud House.
Yeah.
It wasn't as loud for college football while I was there, but you pack 50,000 college basketball fans into a stadium, and the on-campus record at the time, we were shattering it like every year. So it got pretty loud. I know Arrowhead is really loud. I've never been there. I know Seattle is really loud. I've never been there either. So I'm going to just go with Syracuse just because that's what I know. But I'll tell you, Arrowhead Stadium in Seattle, in terms of the NFL, I don't think anyone can top them.
Favorite quote.
Oh, boy.
Or a favorite.
Finish each day and be done with it. Tomorrow's a new day. Begin it well.
I dig that. Give me either your Super Bowl pick or a prop bet that you really like for the Super Bowl.
I can't give you a pick yet. I have to say
okay.
I have to save that for my show.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a really high scoring game.
Okay.
Fair enough. I think the Chiefs win.
Okay.
They Tyreek Hill had 200 yards in the first quarter against the Bucks the last time. In the first quarter. So, it's hard for me to go against what I saw already in this season. Now, the Bucks, they made the Packers look like a JV team in the regular season, and they did it again. But then, then the Saints, they made the Bucks look like a JV team in the regular season. So it's a little bit shaky there. But in terms of the Chiefs, I just think they're so much better than everyone else. And I worked for the Patriots for 6 years. I followed along with Tom Brady throughout his career. I think he's the best to ever do it. And I like what I've seen out of Tampa Bay this year. I'm a big fan of that offense. I'm a big fan of Bruce Arians. Mm-hmm. I don't think they can hang with KC.
They are in another gear on offense than everyone else. It really is like, it's fun to watch if you're a football fan because it's creative and it's fast. It is so fast. And that speed is getting used exactly how it's supposed to. There's tons of teams with speed, but it's not getting leveraged the same way. Okay, last one. If you weren't creating content for Sports Illustrated and Bull Market Fantasy, what would you be doing?
That's a tough question. If I wasn't, wait, are you saying like if you weren't a journalist doing sports?
Yes.
I would probably be a ski instructor in like Colorado in the winter and then bartend in the summer.
That would be. I have a friend who works at a resort in Florida in the winter and a golf resort in Maine for the same company, and he doesn't go below 70 degrees or above 85 degrees his entire life.
He's a smart man.
Smarter than me. Okay, where can people find your stuff?
SI.com, bullmarketfantasy.com, very easy places.
All right. Bill, thank you so much for joining us, man. This was really great to catch up, and we will keep an eye out for your Super Bowl show, and thanks so much for stopping in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I had a blast.
All right.
These interviews are available on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and if you're feeling professional, LinkedIn. Leave a comment below if you have any questions that you'd like to hear us ask some of the best sharps in the business in future interviews. And if you like irreverent commentary, be sure to sign up on SharpRank.com for our newsletter that will show up in your inbox on Tuesday mornings. We'll see you around.